Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, we meet the Indian women campaigning to criminalise marital rape following the adoption of a new penal code which still doesn't prosecute husbands who rape their wives. Also staying on the legal front, a new report reveals that family laws in many African countries reinforce discrimination against women and girls. We'll be talking shortly to Esther Waweru, a legal advisor from Equality Now, which authored the study. And how Moroccan women are bringing new and inclusive energy to the centuries-old art of Gnaoua, a spiritual musical genre historically reserved for men. But first, India's Supreme Court is expected to soon rule on whether marital rape is a crime. This follows the introduction of a new penal code, which continues the tradition where husbands who rape their wives are not prosecuted. The government says prosecuting men would violate the sanctity of marriage. Charlie James takes a closer look at the fight by activists to change the law.
Divya was just 17 when she got married. Her wedding night was the first time her husband raped her.
I told him I've never had sex and asked him if we can take it slowly so I could try to understand it. He said no, the first night is very important for us men.
Her arranged marriage was followed by 19 months of rape and abuse.
There was always physical abuse. At times he would put a knife to my throat and dare me to say no. He would say, "You're my wife, I have full rights over you."
In the eyes of Indian law, their marriage meant him raping her was not a crime.
A person who is married to his victim cannot be prosecuted.
Lawyer Karuna Nundy is challenging this. Nundy has a case at the Supreme Court brought by the All India Democratic Women's Association rights group. She condemns the marital rape clause as colonialism from a Victorian mentality.
Now, this is something that was true also of England. It was true of the United States. It was true of Nepal. It was true of Pakistan. It was true of the Philippines. And all of these have been struck down starting from approximately 1991.
On July 1st, India's government replaced colonial-era criminal laws with a new penal code, saying it would make the country more just. Some sexual assault laws were strengthened, but marital rape remains exempt from prosecution. The government argues that criminalizing marital rape would violate the sanctity of marriage. This reflects deeply embedded cultural norms that victims internalize.
I thought fights shouldn't happen because of me, and I also thought it's normal to have sex after marriage. I didn't consider my own feelings.
Human rights NGOs hope a change in the law can change this mindset.
So the moment we criminalize this marital rape, there will be survivors who will come out and report about it there, because there are many women going through it, and they will know, these survivors will know that this is not okay.
Campaigners have been promised a ruling on marital rape by the Supreme Court in July.
To Africa now, and a new report has revealed that family laws in many African countries reinforce discrimination against women and girls. A study of 20 African nations by Equality Now, an NGO promoting women's rights, revealed significant inequality in marriage, divorce, custody and property rights. Joining me now from Nairobi is Esther Waweru, a senior legal advisor with the organisation. Esther, thank you so much for your time. Your study includes countries such as Algeria, Egypt, Senegal, Ethiopia and South Africa. And it seems one dominant theme emerges, which is that many laws continue to suppress women's rights. Can you outline some of the key obstacles your research uncovered?
So the report actually shows that there is still continuing discrimination against women with regards to family laws. There is inequality within the family, mostly because we have countries that have not adopted laws that enhance gender equality. whereas in some countries we're seeing outrightly discriminatory laws. The fact that most African countries have legal pluralism, meaning that there are different legal regimes that operate or govern family issues, including customary, religious, or even civil law, means that there are multiple laws, and this often leads to a complexity where these laws cannot be equally applied with regards to protecting the rights of women and girls in the family. The other big thing that we are seeing is the continued patriarchal norms, which continue to perpetuate gender inequality and often disenfranchise women and girls within the family. This, I would say, is really the bedrock of the issue of inequality in the family in most of the countries that we looked at in the study.
Now, as you point out there, the biggest issue, of course, is where legal codes coexist alongside religious and cultural traditions, which means it takes it much more than just changing the law itself. With this in mind, how do you break down cultural biases against women?
I think the first thing that needs to happen in terms of breaking cultural biases is creating awareness. And this is a direct responsibility upon the different governments to ensure that we are moving progressively from discriminatory practices and laws. And this requires that governments actually educate their citizenry with regards to laws. And there are a number of normative frameworks from the UN system at the international level down to the African level, where we have a most progressive, comprehensive treaty on women's rights, that is the Maputo Protocol, that gives adequate guidance for most African countries to follow in terms of shaping the norms at the cultural level, but also within the different setups in the different communities. The beauty about the Maputo Protocol is that it directly responds to and addresses the realities of women and girls on the continent, touching on issues that women and girls have lived through and continue to face in terms of the rights that they want to experience, but also for addressing violations that they continue to face.
Are bodies such as the African Union doing enough to encourage change to family laws so as to benefit women?
I think that there have been efforts by the African Union to advance gender equality within the family for women. We also need to be seeing countries being held to account. We have the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, to which governments are required to submit reports on the progress made in implementing the Maputo Protocol. Sadly, we still have only about 20 countries out of the 45 that have ratified who have submitted reports. What this then means is that countries are not ready per se to be held accountable. And without accountability, again, progress will stall.
Yeah, Esther, there's been some progress in the area of child marriage, with 7 of those countries surveyed now having a total ban against the practice. But on the other hand, another 6 African nations, such as Nigeria, Cameroon and Senegal, still allow it, a sign of just how challenging the whole process actually is.
Annette, you're right. Even where countries have set the minimum age of marriage at 18, there are still countries that have exceptions to that rule. And what this then means is that girls can still get married before the age of 18. You also have countries such as South Sudan, which do not specifically provide for what the marriageable age is, but provide in a very open-ended way. A girl may get married once they attain the marriageable age, which leaves it to the discretion of whoever wants to interpret that, and therefore opening the doors for child marriage. We definitely do laud countries that have set the minimum age of marriage at 18 in their laws, because that is one way of protecting girls against child marriage.
Esther, it's been a great pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Staying in Africa, and a group of young female Moroccan artists are establishing themselves in the very closed circle of Gnaoua music scene. It's a centuries-old art listed as a UNESCO heritage and traditionally reserved for men, but not anymore, as our culture team found out.
The beats of the Banat Timbuktu Orchestra resonate through the heart of ancient Mogador. On stage, Asma Hamzawi is breaking a taboo. She's playing the gembri, an instrument until recently reserved for men. At 27, she is the first woman to have broken into Essaouira's Gnaoua music scene. Today, she is recognized as a malema, the highest rank in the art form.
It's an honor. The elders were fine with me joining them. It was the malemas of my own generation who were resistant.
Asma was once the only woman to play the gembri. But singer Hind Ineira quickly followed suit. She became a malema 7 years ago and is unique because she doesn't come from a Malem family.
I am the daughter of Essaouira. I face a lot of obstacles and still do today. I get negative messages, but that motivates me even more to move forward and to prove that nothing can stop me.
Naila Tazi started the Gnaoua festival in Essaouira 25 years ago, and she's seen many changes in the music scene.
It is true that the Gnaoua Brotherhood is very masculine, but in recent years we're finally seeing women play the gembri and become masters of Gnaoua music.
Today, Asma and Hind are the only two malema women singing in Essaouira, two young artists now considered among the greatest.
And that's all for this edition, but in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you, so do reach out with your suggestions via Facebook, Instagram or X. So until our next show, bye for now.